Ibrahim Suffian, who's the director of Merdeka Center, an independent Malaysian research firm. Thanks so much, Ibrahim, for coming on the show. First of all, your reaction to this, what seems like a shock announcement by Mahathir Mohamad.
Well, the developments have been something that we have been anticipating for several months now, because, in the grapevine within Kuala Lumpur, there has been a lot of undercurrents about dissatisfactions within the ruling coalition, coalition leaders, disagreeing with one another, and also talks about trying to prevent Mr. Anwar Ibrahim's succession as Prime Minister. So things have, I think, developed very rapidly over the last 2 to 3 days. And, up to today, we don't really have a formal government. So we have an interim administration under the Prime Minister. And I think it will be still several days before we can see him forming a new coalition.
And what is the general sentiment? Do people want Anwar Ibrahim to be Prime Minister?
Well, from the polling that we have done, Mr. Anwar, attracts divergent support. So the country is divided along sectarian lines. We have a majority of the Muslim population preferring Dr. Mahathir, but we have a large number of the minorities from other faiths preferring Mr. Anwar Ibrahim. So the two of them, are drawing support from different segments of the population. So overall, Dr. Mahathir has an advantage over Mr. Anwar, largely because the Muslim majority in the country is a sizable part of the population.
And just to be clear, where does Mahathir Mohamad go now? What are his plans?
Well, I think in the next hours and days, I think we will see him try to formulate a new coalition comprising the different parties that have pledged support for his prime ministership. Over the last 3 to 4 hours, we have several parties putting up press statements, and we learned that individual members of parliament have signed declarations of support for Dr. Mahathir. What he needs to do in the coming few days is to show the king that he has majority support amongst the members of parliament in the country, and subsequently he is able to form government from amongst them. And out of that, he can appoint a cabinet of his choosing.
Now, the history between the two men has been quite tumultuous. It goes back a long time. Would you say this is history repeating itself, Mahathir Mohamad sidelining Anwar Ibrahim?
Well, I think the current iteration of political events in the country is a bit more complicated than what happened 20 years ago between Anwar and Mahathir in the early days. The current situation is that they are all together originally in the same coalition that toppled the old ruling party. But I think there are different divergent ideas in terms of how the succession is to be played out, and also perhaps Dr. Mahathir's intention to see through his policies and his legacy into the future. And I think that's where some friction has emerged, because there is increasing distrust between the followers of both men about the transition itself, that there is a fear that in the end, Mr. Anwar would be played out. This hasn't really transpired, but Mr. Anwar is in a weaker position because all of his allies, the two principal allies, have sided with Dr. Mahathir today, endorsing his prime ministership for the future.
Ibrahim Suffian speaking to us there from Malaysia. Thank you very much indeed.